We hear so much about the incredible power of AI, right? How it can analyze data, generate amazing content, and completely transform industries. But here's the thing, for all its technical brilliance, the biggest roadblock to actually getting AI adopted, it isn't the code. It's not the algorithms. It's us. It's the people. So let's really get into this very human side of the problem.
So what's actually keeping leaders and employees up at night when they think about AI? It's a question that gets right to the heart of this whole adoption challenge. And we're not just talking about buggy software or bad data. No. The fears are way more fundamental, and they touch on our daily lives in some pretty profound ways.
Well, according to the experts at IBM, these anxieties are deep. First up, imagine this. An AI is making a life-altering decision about you, maybe for a loan or a job interview, and you don't even know what's happening. Scary, right? Then there's this really dangerous myth that because AI is just math, it's got to be objective and fair. That could not be further from the truth. And finally, just to give you a sense of scale, this whole challenge, it's being talked about on the same level as massive global issues, like climate change. Yeah, that's how big of a deal this is.
When you really look at it, all these fears, they boil down to one single thing. It's the first major roadblock for pretty much any organization out there. A massive, fundamental problem with trust. And without that trust, even the most amazing AI tool is basically dead on arrival.
Okay, let's put a number on this, because it's not just a fuzzy feeling. Get this, a staggering 80% of AI projects, 80%, they completely stall out in the testing phase. And the reason? It's not a technical glitch. It's because the people who are actually supposed to use these tools simply do not trust the results. This isn't some vague cultural thing. This is a huge, expensive business problem.
And believe me, this isn't just happening in a few places. We're seeing this everywhere. Data from a workshop with the Twin Cities AI community shows this trust gap in plain sight. More than half of the organizations there, they're at level 0. That means they have no formal AI strategy at all. And almost 2/3, they're only using it in super limited ways. This isn't a picture of competent adoption, is it? It's a snapshot of widespread hesitation and a whole lot of unpreparedness.
Okay, so if the big problem is this lack of trust and readiness, you have to ask the next question, right? Why? What is the real root cause behind all this stalling? Turns out it's kind of a chain reaction. And here's the key idea to wrap your head around. Adopting AI isn't just a tech problem, it's what's called a socio-technological challenge. And what that means is, you can't just throw a better piece of software at it and expect things to work. You have to deal with the people, the culture, the processes, all that human stuff surrounding the tool. The socio part is every bit as important as the technological part.
So inside a company, this whole thing tends to escalate in a really predictable way. It all starts with misalignment. Different teams have completely different goals for AI. That creates this void where nobody's really communicating clearly. And what fills that void? Fear. Real, rational fears among employees about their jobs, about ethics, and before you know it, that fear grows into a full-blown culture bottleneck, where the company's culture just can't keep up with the tech.
And we have to be super clear about this. When employees seem like they're resisting AI, it's almost never because they're stubborn or anti-tech. That fear you're seeing, it is a completely rational response to seeing these powerful, kind of mysterious tools being rolled out with really unclear intentions. It's a giant red flag that says, hey, trust, safety, and a clear strategy are missing here.
All right, so we've kind of diagnosed the problem, right? The fear, the trust gap, the cultural bottleneck. The big question is, how do we actually fix it? The good news is there are some really clear frameworks starting to emerge that give us a roadmap, a way to build the trust we need to move forward.
And what's so cool here is how different groups are kind of landing on the same ideas. You've got the STASH framework from the Twin Cities AI community, focusing on things like safety and being human-centered. And then you have IBM's 5 pillars, talking about fairness and explainability. They might use slightly different words, but look at how much they overlap. Both of them are shouting about transparency. At the end of the day, they're both about making sure AI serves people ethically and safely. This tells us there's a real consensus building on what good AI actually looks like. If you boil it down even more, IBM puts forward 3 core principles. And honestly, the first one is the absolute game changer for building trust. The whole purpose of AI should be to augment human intelligence, not replace it. The second is about protecting data ownership, and the third just hammers home that need for transparency. But that idea of augmentation, that's the key. That's what reframes the entire conversation. Okay, so how do we take these principles off the page and actually put them into practice? How do we get our teams and our companies to shift the story, to move from that narrative of fear and replacement to one of empowerment and collaboration?
Well, here's your practical checklist, your path forward. It's got to start with governance, which really just means getting everybody in the same room and on the same page. Then you have to create these safe-to-fail environments where people can actually learn and experiment without being terrified of messing up. It means being really honest with yourself about where you actually are in terms of readiness. And maybe most importantly, it's about finding those early wins and shouting them from the rooftops, all while building a culture that puts people first.
And I just love this idea of rolling thunder. Think about it. Instead of some big top-down mandate, a loud command from the CEO's office saying, you will use AI. It's about starting small. You let one team find a cool way to use it, find a win. Then you have them share their story. And that success gets another team excited, and then another one. It becomes this grassroots movement built on real, peer-to-peer trust and genuine curiosity. It's so much more powerful than a command.
And this all leads us to what is probably the single most important mindset shift you can make. This quote, which really became the rallying cry at that workshop, just says it all. You have to lead with AI as a force multiplier, not as a job replacer. If your message is all about making your people better, smarter, more effective, you build trust. But if the message is about cutting costs by replacing people, you get fear. It's that simple.
And let's be clear, this isn't just about feelings and making people happy. Thinking of AI as a force multiplier has real, tangible business payoffs. We're talking about creating new, higher-value roles for people. It leads to increased revenue, better customer satisfaction, and it helps you keep your best people because you're investing in them. It's proof that empathetic leadership is also just really smart business.
So here's the bottom line. The story of AI in your organization, it's being written right now, at this very moment, whether you're actively writing it or not. So the only real question is, what kind of story is it going to be? Is it going to be a story defined by fear, mistrust, and replacement? Or is it going to be a story of augmentation, trust, and human empowerment? That's the choice that's on the table.